So Germany and Japan got us up and running in Group E earlier, and now with that Spain-Costa Rica result, the group table looks like that. So a very encouraging start for Spain, a very emphatic victory, and they top the table. Really surprising, though, the earlier result, Germany beaten by Japan. And so, job well done by those Spanish players. I was surprised reading a lot of the previews to this game, Shay, that people were saying Spain were coming in under the radar, but surely they were always among one of the favourites.
I don't think they're under the radar anymore after scoring 7 goals. I think they've, just looking at a bit of a stat pack there, over nearly 1,000 passes in the game. They just ran them off the pitch. I mean, the Costa Ricans are shell-shocked, I think, after the game. They'll be hard to pick them up after this. But I think Alan mentioned in the commentary, I think they set up wrong from the start.
Yeah.
You're playing against a Spanish team who are, as I mentioned with the stats, they're so good on the ball, pass, 1 touch, 2 touch, they move the ball so quickly around the pitch, and the Costa Ricans couldn't live with them, so it's a real hammering for them. But it's a fantastic day for Spain, of course, and we mentioned before the game, some of these young players, can they step up? Can they play like they've done? And obviously they did in the goals they scored. We'll have a look at after. Brilliant goals they scored as well.
Yeah, and also we wondered what Luis Enrique might do because they were so comfortable by half-time, Kenny. And the options then that were presented to him in the second half, it gave him an opportunity to experiment, especially with that problematic area up front, although it doesn't look too problematic now, does it?
No, he's got some great options high up the pitch. Very similar to Gareth Southgate. I think the strengths of both of England and Spain are in forward areas high up the pitch. No surprise he kind of flooded the bench in the second half, made some substitutions, and they really caught the eye as well. Nico Williams from Bilbao, really like the look of him. More a direct style a player than what we see from the likes of Almo and Torres coming on the inside and playing in the inside pockets. This lad who likes to stay on the outside, more of a natural winger, Peter. So good variation to their attack. And the players who came on made an impact. I'd mentioned Balde as well, the left back. Only got into the squad because Gaya pulled out through injury, 19 years of age, almost a regular for Barcelona. He really caught the eye at left back as well.
I know we have to take the opposition into account, Shay, but Spain can only do what Spain can do.
Yeah.
And they didn't let up. They kept the pressure on. They kept seeking goals.
Yeah, and as Kenny says, a bit like England, they made substitutions. They gave everyone sort of game time. They took that pressure off of your first game at a World Cup. And as I said, there's a lot of young players there. You mentioned Balde, you mentioned Nicky Williams, all teenagers, Gavi, all teenagers, and again they just looked, it didn't faze them. The pressure didn't get them. And yes, maybe it's a good first game because we mentioned before the game, Rodri playing centre half, they weren't tested at all. I mean, the goalkeeper could have left his gloves probably in the change room. They were so comfortable all over the pitch, The
goalkeeper should have stayed in the dressing room before the game. Didn't need him.
There'll be bigger tests to come for sure.
Yeah, and you'd wonder how they'd respond. And when you compare it to the other teams who started well, France have started well, England have started well, and now Spain. When you compare it to the other two, where do you think Spain rank amongst that 3 at the moment?
No, I was impressed.
In terms of performance?
Yeah, you'd have to temper a little bit, Peter, because Costa Rica just offered absolutely nothing. We spoke about Rodri, interesting selection. If he's going to be tested defensively, he never was. Nobody laid a glove on him. So sterner tests ahead for Spain from a defensive point of view. How that team, if a team can take the ball off Spain for 40% of the game, then that defensive structure will really be tested because they haven't got a defender in midfield. I don't look at Sergio Busquets and see him as a natural defender. He's a technician, he's a ball player. They've got a central midfielder playing the centre half as well. So against a better team who take the ball off them, I think there's potential frailties in that Spanish side. But I suppose you could say that for any of the top teams in terms of small weaknesses within the team. But in terms of the quality of their football, it was outstanding.
It was. And Luis Enrique's stated intention is to play the vast majority of the game in the opposition's half. It's one thing stating that and trying to get it done, especially against better opposition, Shay. But is it possible, given the talents that they have at their disposal, to do it against better sides?
I think it is. I think when you see the goals back, when you see the movement, the 1-touch, 2-touch football all over the pitch, and what maybe you would say, some people, English fans would say, Gareth Southgate isn't offensive enough, he isn't adventurous enough. I think Enrique is the opposite. He's actually letting these players go out and play, go and express yourselves and play in the opposition half and actually enjoy your football. They look like they're playing with smiles on their faces, and that's a big thing. If you can play with a smile on your face, you enjoy your football, and you see the result today. Yeah,
well, it certainly was very, very one-sided, but it was thoroughly enjoyable. An emphatic start to this World Cup by Spain. Really to the sword with that 7-0 victory. You're very welcome back. Lots to review from that second half, and we're going to get straight into the analysis. And the Torres goal, you thought the chance had gone, Kenny, but he was given a second bite of the cherry, as they say. Yeah, a big fan of this lad. Very versatile player. Big asset to the Spanish team. I'd have to mention Calvo, though, the Costa Rican centre half. Have a look at him here. He comes out, kind of genuflects in front of
Torres here, that's just not good enough. That was the standard of defending which Spain faced all afternoon. But what I like about this is we spoke about the false number 9 and the responsibility of the wingers to drive into that central area. That's exactly what he does. Olmo did it for the first goal and he does it here, and he has a little bit to do. He has to improvise, Peter. Look at these 2 touches, doesn't even look where the goal is. For me, he's a really good finisher in these central areas, and he's going to come into the equation for me for that central striking area going forward. We'll probably speak about it a bit later.
Yeah. We wondered, Shay, how Gavi would do making his World Cup finals debut. He did very well, and he became the youngest footballer since Pele to score at a World Cup.
Yeah, it was a brilliant run by the left back. Came on Alex Balde off the bench as well. He drives into that space. Obviously, Morata, as we know, is an out-and-out number 9. Navas does well. It sort of delays it a little bit, but you can see Gavi arriving on the edge of the box, and we spoke about would he be nervous. You know, his first World Cup, his first game in a major finals for obviously a massive country in Spain, and he put that away with aplomb, really. I mean, again, Morata does well. He gets his head up, a bit of calmness there on the edge of the box, and you just see him arriving into the picture. And that's a phenomenal finish without side of his right foot. Yeah. No panic, no, you know, just enjoying his football, and that's a great finish by Gavi.
Yeah, I was going to say what a great prospect he is, but he's gone way past the point of prospect now, hasn't he, Kenny? Really superb performance.
Oh, he is, yeah. Him and Pedri, amazing, playing beyond their years.
Yeah. OK, we had 3 late goals then, and the substitutes getting involved, so further confidence for the whole squad.
Yeah, I like this fella. I spoke about him before, Peter, like a natural winger. Doesn't want to come on the inside, happy to get his defender 1v1 and drive on the outside and put that ball, that corridor of uncertainty. Wouldn't be overly critical of Navas here, but this goal, it's all about the quality of the delivery. Don't see this too often in the modern game, hitting the ball line, just whipping it across that 6-yard box. Great to see.
And Morata also came on during that second half, Shay. Now, if anybody sort of was going to be due a little bit of criticism in the second half, was Morata. He had a couple of unusual moments and a miss or two, but he did get on the mark as well.
Yeah, I think he gets a lot of stick at home as well back in Spain. Yeah. You know, I don't think he's the fans' favourite, but Enrique likes him a lot. And again, we talk about number 9. He's an out-and-out number 9, the only one they probably have. But great link-up play with Olmo, and it's a fantastic finish by Morata. You know, he makes it look so easy. But the little one-touch, two-touch we talked about before, you know, the Spanish way of playing, should we say? Yeah. That layoff for him is absolutely brilliant from Olmo, and it's look at that one-touch finish. And again, Morata, as I say, is a good striker. The goal never moves, doesn't look where the goal is, and you know, it's a brilliant finish from Morata.
I think you think about him, Shay, he's not the easiest on the eye. He's not the most athletic in terms of his movement. Looks a little bit too clunky. You know, the other lads are quick and dynamic around him, but certainly in between the posts with the ball at his feet, he's as good as anybody.
But again, from a confidence point of view, Peter, you know, the first game, he could have kept him off the bench, but it's a freedom. Getting them 3 goals first half, to put these players on. Yeah. And now he's scored again. And for the next game, for the bigger games coming up, we've obviously got Germany on Sunday, which is a massive game.
Well, again,
I mean, if Spain beat Germany, they could be out, you know, after the second game. It's a massive game Sunday.
Yeah, it certainly is, because the confidence will be majorly boosted from this victory. But Kenny, what about that false 9 position that was occupied by Asensio today? Is he the best man for the job?
I don't think he is. He had his audition today. I like him as well. Lovely footballer, very technical player. Just feel as if even with a false 9, you've got to be a good finisher when the chances arrive in that area. This is on his favourite left foot, real kind of scuff finish. And like I said, I know you've got a licence to kind of drift into different areas, but you will find yourself in these positions at times during the game. Again, a bit of a panicky finish there. That wouldn't fill you with confidence. Again, off balance a little bit. Skies this one over the crossbar. This was his best moment of the game, of course. Made a really good contact with this. Shay spoke about Navas maybe doing a little bit better. So that'd be the one criticism from me. If when against the better teams, when he maybe only has one chance during the course of 90 minutes and you have to be clinical, I don't think he's Spain's most clinical finisher. For me, it's Ferran Torres. I've seen him play at Manchester City and Spain in that central striking position. I think he's Spain's best finisher in that central striking position. And then you argue about potentially Nico Williams and Ansu Fati coming into those wide areas. But it's a great position to be in for the Spanish manager.
It is. They have an abundance of riches up front, and they're not bad as far as the goalkeeping position is concerned either, Shay, are they?
Well, it's interesting that, as I mentioned at the start of the programme, David De Gea's not even in the squad.
Yeah.
You know, obviously,
which says something.
Simon played today. Raya, Sanchez at Brighton, of course, they've got strength and depth there. But obviously, the goalkeeper wasn't tested at all today. But again, the question mark says people at home watching 7-0. You want to talk about the forward players, which Kenny's mentioned. They've got so many attacking players. But defensively, I mean, we talk about Germany on Sunday. Yeah. There'll be a different game on Sunday. They will get tested at the back, and the question mark, will Rodri play centre half? And of course, the goalkeeper will be tested. Is he up to this level of playing World Cup football? We'll find that out as well. But the other worrying thing is when you look at all these different players, you mentioned the different goal scorers. a lot of them are teenagers. Like, so we're talking about, you know, this is the next brand of Spanish players coming through. You know, they're around not for the next couple of years, for the next 10 years possibly, you know. So the future's really bright for Spain.
But I think the Germany game, sorry, Perry, they're going to have a real physical test there. Germany are going to have the more dynamic, physical approach, higher energy approach. They'll find the same when they come against France as well.
Yeah.
You know, the likes of Tchouameni, Camavinga, Rabiot, and that central midfield player, physically aggressive. Now they really make contact with those small technical Spanish players. So that's the big question mark for me going forward. They didn't show us anything today we didn't already know in terms of the quality of their football, but can they deal with that type of football, which I think they're going to face against Germany? It's a massive game for Germany, isn't it, the weekend?
It's absolutely huge, and I suppose that's the question, Shay. But when you see how they allow the ball to do the work, one-touch, two-touch football, I mean, no matter how slight they may be and diminutive in size, some of those midfielders, they're still very difficult to get close to.
Very difficult. I mean, some of the goals, and then just the chances that Kenny just went through as well. It's like as if there's no opposition there, Peter. And that's not me being disrespectful to Costa Rica. Yeah. When you pass and move like that and pick up little pockets, and they're so clever with their movement and stuff. When you go to press someone down, he's popping around the corner to someone else, and someone else is picking up the space. And you actually, I know Kenny talks about Germany on Sunday, and he's right, the physicality they'll bring to the game. But if they keep popping passes off, even doesn't matter how big or strong they are, they can't get near these small, you know, players. And we've seen in the past the likes of David Silva, Iniesta, Xavi, all these players. They were some brilliant players. Well, they weren't the biggest either, you know.
Yeah, but Germany will be more tactically astute.
I know what you're saying, Kenny, but you've got to get tight on them.
Busquets today, the amount of space they have, not going to have that. Germany aren't going to give him that type of space. They're going to have a plan for him. They're going to get around his feet. They're not going to let him turn and start off all those attacks.
But what you will say, the pressure's on Germany, isn't it? Spain could go in there not with a cigar on, but they'll be relaxed, playing their own football. Germany have to get a result.
OK, well, remember, it's been a very eventful day in Group E. Spain now sit on top, and they face Germany next, as we've been saying. And they'll need a result to keep their hopes alive.